And now, it is my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. She currently serves as Senior Vice President and Chief Inclusion Officer for Visa Corporation and has led social impact initiatives for large global organizations. Her career has been dedicated to helping corporations strategically to adjust the landscape of their workforce to become more reflective and representative of an evolving global population. Additionally, she has served as the leader for a national nonprofit organization that provides certification, advocacy, and development for alternative-owned businesses. It is my distinct privilege to introduce you Adrienne Trimble.
All right, good evening, everyone. Good evening, distinguished faculty, proud families, and most importantly, the incredible graduates of the USC Suzanne Duarte Peck School of Social Work. It is truly an honor to stand before you today to celebrate this significant milestone in your lives. Now, I have 3 goals today. I've learned this whenever speaking before a celebratory crowd. My job is to be brief, be brilliant, and be gone. So today marks a new chapter, one that's filled with boundless opportunities to create meaningful change in our world. First and foremost, today marks a momentous occasion. Congratulations, graduates, you did it. Give yourselves a round of applause. Yes. I want to extend my heartfelt congratulations to each of you and your families. See, I put 3 kids through school, so I know what that's like. So families, you give yourselves a round of applause. You all have worked tirelessly. You've shown resilience, and you've committed yourselves to the pursuit of knowledge. Today is a day of celebration, reflection, and anticipation. As you stand on the threshold of a new chapter in your lives, I am honored to address a group of individuals who have dedicated themselves to the noble pursuit of social justice, advocacy, and transformative change. You have chosen a path that is not for the faint of heart. It is a path that demands immense amounts of empathy, resilience, and unwavering commitment. Throughout your journey here, you have not only honed your skills and knowledge, but you've also embodied the very essence of what it means to be a force for good in this world, which we desperately need these days. In a time when our communities face unprecedented change and challenges, your role in social work has never been more crucial. You are the voices for the voiceless. You are the advocates for the marginalized, and you are the beacons of hope for those in despair. The work that you have undertaken and the work that you will continue to do has the power to heal, to uplift, and to create lasting, meaningful change. As I stand here today, I'm reminded of my own journey, a journey that has been filled with challenges, triumphs, and invaluable lessons along the way. I am the youngest of 3 daughters raised by a single mother. We grew up in a segregated suburb outside of Cleveland, Ohio. The way our community was developed, all the Black families and lower-income families lived in one neighborhood, and the surrounding neighborhoods were white only. When I was in the 4th grade, to support integration efforts, our neighborhood elementary school was closed, and we were bused to other schools, and our neighborhood was split in half, which meant that the friends that I grew up with, the friends that I played with, walked to school with, walked home with, all of us would now go to different schools, and it was heartbreaking. But what was really upsetting is when we arrived at our new school, we found that we were unwanted. All of the students from my neighborhood were automatically placed in the lower learning tracks. I couldn't believe it, and it's still a fresh memory for me, and I can feel it as if though it happened yesterday. You see, I was always a straight-A student. I took pride in excelling in academics. I loved watching my mother smile on her face as I went up to receive award after award after award, winning spelling bees and contests. That's the student that I was. and then to show up at a school where the teachers had already predetermined my aptitude without understanding who I was as a student, it was disheartening. However, that just made me more determined. I quickly tested out of those lower tracks and took my rightful place in the top learning tracks. Yes, it did. Unfortunately, there was one teacher who did not want these students in her class, as she referred to us, those students. And yes, she was overheard voicing this to other teachers. She was my 5th grade math teacher. Now, while I truly loved all subjects, I had to work really hard at math. And she made me hate math. It was the first time I ever received a D, and I was so ashamed. Now, you would think because we were dealing in numbers, this would have just been straightforward. After all, it was 5th grade math. We weren't doing algebra or trigonometry. We were learning fractions and long division. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't grasp the concept of long division. And she didn't try to help me understand. She just failed me. It was years later that someone showed me what I was doing wrong. You see, I was lining the numbers up incorrectly, which caused the equation to be off and all the calculations to be wrong. Once I saw the error, it was so clear, so I know it had to be clear to her. But she didn't care to teach me. That was when I learned the importance of having advocates, and I learned to surround myself with people who genuinely cared about me and my success. And I vowed that I would become the type of advocate that I so desperately needed at that tender age. It was through these types of experiences that I endured my entire time in that school system that I discovered my passion for inclusion, for equity, for social justice and impact. And much like you, I found myself at a crossroads, questioning how could I contribute to a more equitable and inclusive society. My initial career choice was to become a civil rights attorney. However, my path was not one of the traditional student. After my freshman year, I didn't have enough money, financial aid, or loans to cover my tuition. So I had to work full-time and attend school part-time. I obtained a job working in the Human Resources Department for a local hospital in Cincinnati, Ohio. It was there that I realized the value of being in a position of being a policy maker versus a rule follower. Because from my vantage point, the rules weren't always fair, nor were they applied equitably. I saw clearly how those departments in the hospital that had more entry-level workers, they were more constantly disciplined, and they were terminated at a much higher rate for the same offenses that professional employees were able to have excused. And it wasn't lost on me that most of those entry-level workers were Black and brown and from lower disadvantaged communities, while the professional workers were not. I would often hold informal roundtable discussions in the cafeteria with workers so that I could better understand what were their challenges, what were their concerns, why was it so hard? And I really wanted to understand how I could help. I started working with the leaders in the Human Resources Department to help them understand how they could be a bit more empathetic and understand people who came from different backgrounds than their own. It was during this time that I realized the power of community and the importance of creating spaces where everyone feels valued and heard. As graduates of the USC Social Work, you are uniquely positioned to drive change in our communities. Your education has equipped you with all the tools and knowledge to address some of the most pressing issues of our time: inequality, injustice, and social disparities. You're graduating from one of the top social work program schools in the world. You are equipped to do this. But beyond your academic achievements, it is your compassion, it is your empathy, and your commitment to community that I know each of you will truly make a difference. I've always seen community as the cornerstone of social impact. It is through our collective actions and our collaboration that we can only then truly create lasting change. I've been blessed to have a career that has allowed me to pursue my passion of creating equal access and opportunity for all, The work that I lead and the work that I do, it has never been about excluding anyone, but making sure that everyone is included and all voices are heard. I've been able to do this inside the corporate world and for the broader society. I've worked for some of the most recognizable brands in the world. I've worked for the largest automaker in the world, Toyota and Lexus. I've worked for the world's largest food distributor, Cisco Corporation. And now I'm with Visa, the world's leader in payment processing. But the highlight of my career was serving as the president and CEO of the National Minority Supplier Development Council, which is a nonprofit organization that certifies and connects minority-owned businesses to corporate supply chain needs. I had the honor to lead this organization at the onset of a global pandemic when major corporations were shuttering their doors and our economy came to a screeching halt. I worked with the White House, congressional leaders, and some of the largest Black, Hispanic, Asian-owned companies in the world to develop policies that would provide economic relief to these companies to keep them sustainable through these hard times. While the approach the White House took at that time was to ensure support for small businesses, we knew that many minority-owned companies and micro businesses and micro entrepreneurs, they didn't have the necessary banking and financial relationships to get the support that was needed. They were shut out of all of that funding that was made available to businesses at that time. And we had data telling us that 40% of those businesses were closing their doors, laying off thousands and hundreds of people by the day. By working together, we were able to amplify our voices and create a ripple effect to save hundreds of thousands of jobs and millions in tax revenue going back into the economy and back into the community. The other critical ingredient that I like to use is around the word inclusion. And we saw that today just with the introduction today, including all voices, making sure that everyone is heard and can be heard. Inclusion is not just a buzzword. It is a fundamental principle that should guide all of our actions and our decisions. I often refer back to Reverend Jesse Jackson's analogy regarding Major League Baseball's lack of representation of players of color. He famously said, "It's like inviting us to a lunch counter, but not letting us sit at the table and not having a meal." The reason the Negro Leagues were even created was because Black and brown players were not allowed to play. They could, however, they could buy tickets in the segregated section and watch the game. The owners took notice of this, and they realized that the Negro League games would be at a sold-out capacity, and that was revenue that they were missing. That was the catalyst for integrating Major League Baseball. And do you know the percentage of players of color today in Major League Baseball? As of 2023, there are 40.3% players of color, with more than 30% of those being of Hispanic or Latin descent. Yes, inclusion works. By 2024, this figure had risen from $4.3 billion in revenue to $12.1 billion in revenue. So the revenue increased along with the representation of color of the players. See, economics has never been about Black, white, or brown. It's about green. And when we embrace diversity and foster inclusive environments, we unlock and we build the full potential of individuals and communities, which helps keep our economy going. We create spaces where everyone can thrive. And again, it's about making sure everyone is included and no one is left behind. As you embark on your professional careers, I urge you to be steadfast champions of inclusion. Go and intentionally seek out different perspectives from your own. Be brave enough to challenge the status quo. Be a leader and advocate for those who may not have a voice. Remember, the true progress is only achieved when we uplift and empower those around us. Graduates, you are the future leaders. You are the change makers. You are the advocates of our society. The path may not be, actually, I know it won't always be easy, but I promise you it is one worth pursuing. Remember, you are not made to follow the path. You are made to create it. Create it. Walk into the world with bold steps, a clear heart, and the unshakable belief that you alone are enough to make a difference. Infuse your passion, your creativity, and your determination into everything that you do. Be fearless and unwavering in your pursuit of justice and equity. And most importantly, never, ever underestimate the impact that you can have on the lives of others. As I conclude, I want to leave you with this thought. The world needs you. We need your vision. We need your passion. And we need your unwavering commitment to social impact and social justice. Honor and embrace and hold this responsibility with open minds and open hearts. Together, we will build a more inclusive, just, and compassionate world because the world needs this now more than ever. I wanted to say thank you again for allowing me to spend a few words of wisdom with you today, and congratulations once again to the USC class of 2025 at the Suzanne Dirk Peck Social Work class. You've got this. Now go out there and make a difference. Thank you.